Hi there, my name is Javier Garza, and I'm a developer advocate based in San Francisco, California. My personal motto is share what you know and learn what you don't. Most of the automation workflows use command line tools that run in the form of shell scripts or some programming languages like Python or JavaScript. There is a long list of third-party command line tools and scripts in different programming languages that you can use for automation purposes. One of my favorite tools is called HTTPie. Not only because it's open source and very powerful for making API requests with JSON payloads, but also because there is an authentication plugin called EdgeGrid that makes really easy to use against Akamai APIs. Another third-party tool I like is called JQ, which is a lightweight and flexible command line JSON processor and makes easier to manipulate JSON data and, for example, filter specific values within a large JSON response. Let's see a demo how you can leverage the command line tools HTTPie and JQ to make API requests you can use on automation workflows. All right, so let's start the demo. So we are going to see how easy it is to use command line tools like HTTPie and JQ to access Akamai APIs. The first thing we need to do is we need to check the documentation of the API we want to access. For example, I'm going to use the diagnostic API. If I go to the resources, I can see all the endpoints here. I'm going to take, for example, the first one. Let me copy this. All right. So I'm going to go back to my terminal, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to use the Akamai Docker environment. So I have configured an alias called akadev. You can see in the alias, it runs a docker run command to mount the Akamai/shell image. And I give several parameters, like, for example, remove the image after use and mount my credential files from my local directory, and also to mount a folder from my local machine to the Docker container. So the files I save under the shared vault, they persist on my local machine. So I just type akadev, press enter, and I start my Docker environment. Here you can see I have the Akamai CLI installed. I have JQ installed, and I have HTTP installed with the EdgeGrid authentication, which is the authentication method that Akamai APIs use. So the next thing I need to do is type HTTPie, tell it to use the EdgeGrid authentication. This is the one the Akamai's APIs use. And well, let me check before I do this. Let me check if I have my API credentials available. So I'm going to show the first line of my HRC file. Good, so it looks good. I have a section called default with API credentials underneath. So let me go again and type HTTPie minus a EdgeGrid minus a, instead of minus minus of type, minus a default, and a colon. The colon is very important. This indicates the section. And then I basically need to copy and paste the endpoint I want. In this case, let me copy this, back to the terminal, I paste it. And you can see a list of all the different locations where I can run debug commands to debug Akamai APIs. You can see the response is basically an array called locations that has a lot of entries with IDs and values. So let's say I only want to see the IDs, I want to filter only the IDs so that we can pass it to another script. So I could use JQ for that. So the format of the JQ you can check on the website. And this is the first one. You have all the documentation here. But I'm going to go very quickly with the syntax. The syntax is I do dot locations, and that's an array. So, and then I want the ID. So if I type this, basically I just filter, the field I want. So you can see it's very simple. And if I don't want the double quotes, because my script expects without that, I can tell them to give me the raw values, and it will be given without the double quotes. So you can see it's very simple to use HTTPie and JQ to automate things. And I could now make a loop using the shell to say you can see you can now manipulate with a shell script and do whatever you want with those locations. You can make a loop and make API requests from some of them and so on. Okay, perfect. So that's it. You can see it's very simple. I hope you find this information useful, and remember to share what you know and learn what you don't. Thank you very much. Bye.